prison the world over is supposed to be a reformatory and correctional center. But the state of Nigerian prisons calls for concern. This has led to various movements and organizations adding their voices to the call for prison reform. This is our focus on Panorama today. But first, the news making the rounds. My name is Ademola Adeoye. President Idris Deby of the Republic of Chad has congratulated President Goodluck Jonathan on the statesmanship he demonstrated during the general elections. The Chadian president made this known when he paid a solidarity visit to President Jonathan in the State House.
President Idno described President Jonathan as a true Democrat who has allowed peace to reign in Nigeria. The two leaders, who had earlier held talks behind closed doors, promised to continue to work together in the fight against Boko Haram. President Idno said his visit ahead of the inauguration of the next administration was to have an overview of the joint efforts in dealing with insurgency in Nigeria.
Meanwhile, the President-elect General Muhammadu Buhari says the incoming administration will review and sustain the collaboration between Nigeria and Chad in the fight against Boko Haram. The president-elect stated this when he played host to the Chadian president. State House Ismail Musa has details of this and the president-elect's other engagements.
The president-elect, while commending the efforts of the Chadian government in the ongoing fight against Boko Haram, stressed that the incoming administration will build on the gains recorded.
Our main preoccupation in this region is the question of Boko Haram. And we have known how Chad, Nigeria, and Cameroon have been helping Nigeria. And God willing, when the government gets in place, we will against it and make sure we have a comprehensive review of the situation in that area and how it affects our people.
On his part, the Chadian president, who described the recent elections as a successful outing, said Boko Haram is a common threat to both his country and Nigeria.
This visit today in Abuja, Nigeria, is coming to congratulate the Nigerian people and leaders of achieving one of the greatest elections ever seen in Africa.
Similarly, the president-elect had closed-doors meetings with ambassadors and high commissioners of 15 countries. Apart from commitments and promises from the visitors to expand relations with Nigeria, the Danish envoy said Denmark will reopen its office in Nigeria, closed for over 20 years.
It's important for us because we have extremely good relations with Nigeria, but we want to enhance them even more by being present in Nigeria with a full embassy and a full consulate general in Lagos. And now we are here, we're back in force, and we're back to help Danish companies open up subsidiaries in Nigeria, and hopefully also to create jobs, something that this country needs very much.
The visiting envoys include those from Japan, North Korea, Finland, India, Sweden, Kuwait, Syria, Kenya, Algeria, and Lebanon. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
5 days after the official inauguration of the new Makurdi NIPP substation, a similar facility to boost supply of electricity to the Federal Capital Territory and neighboring communities has been inaugurated by Vice President Namadi Sambo on behalf of President Goodluck Jonathan. State House correspondent Hamza Musa Makrafe reports that the new station takes supply directly from Geregu 1 and 2 power plants in Kogi State.
The new 330-132-33 Gwagwalada substation has been in service since 2013. The facility receives flow-up generated power from Geregu 1 and 2 power plants through a new double-circuit transmission line with a distance of 222 kilometers from Ajaokuta. From Gwagwalada, 2 lines by the NIPP delivers supply to Katampe and Apo. Vice President Sambo, who represented President Jonathan, says the vision behind the NIPP projects is being actualized.
In this regard, we shall continue to make our contributions to the development of our dear country as patriotic citizens. We are confident that posterity shall place us on the right side of history.
Minister of Power, Professor Chinedu Nebo, warned saboteurs against vandalism of pipeline infrastructure supplying gas to power installations.
It is instructive for our people to know that when we talk about the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, it is a Nigerian, all Nigerian company, owned by the federal government, all the state governments, all the local governments.
Senator Philip Tanimu Aduda, representative of FCT at the National Assembly and Chairman Senate Committee on Power, says his constituency is excited about the siting of the project,
which is to ensure that Nigerians have stable, reliable, affordable power supply.
Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Niger Delta Power Holding Company, James Olotu, says the substation is futuristic,
thereby assuring quality supply of power when on the grid into these communities and therefore enhancing the quality of life.
From Gwagwalada Area Council, I am Hamza Musa Magarpi, NTA News.
Senate President David Mark has cautioned members of the state assemblies to see their election victory as a call to service and sacred duty that must not be abused no matter the circumstances. At the opening of an induction program in Abuja, he also advised them to be on the side of the people at all times in the discharge of their duties. National Assembly correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
The 5-day induction program organized by the National Institute for Legislative Studies is aimed at providing the incoming state lawmakers with the basic knowledge required to function optimally in the legislature. The Senate President, who acknowledged the daunting challenges being faced by state assemblies, including poor funding as well as executive dominance and interference, said although strong partnership is required between the executive and the legislature, this is only needed on matters of public good.
I urge you to conduct yourselves in a manner that is beyond reproach. As lawmakers, you must avoid holding your sessions in the council chambers of the government houses. You must conduct your sittings in line with the provisions of the Constitution. You must restrain yourself from the excessive use of the constitutional provision that empowers you to impeach either your speakers, executive governors, or their deputies.
Let you not be tempted any further to take the laws into your hands unjustifiably to satisfy anyone's cause. We need to strengthen the institution of legislature for our own good.
You will, in this tasking democratic assignment, be greatly supported by your respective legislative bureaucracies that can help you to deliver on your campaign promises.
The Chairman Conference of State Assembly Speakers, Samuel from Akwa Ibom State, described the induction program as desirable in view of the alarming turnover rate of legislators across the country.
Urge and hope that the National Assembly will take steps to help us by ensuring that the amended Constitution sees the light of day.
At the end of the day, I want to believe that the rudiments will be well gotten and put it into use.
Things will work out the way the masses want, because our people are always calling for change, and definitely we are ready for change.
What they're doing here is very good, so that we can make good laws and move our states forward.
Whatever that is given to the grassroots, I will definitely bring it down.
I made some vows to my people to create employment for the people of my constituency.
A blend of professionals and practitioners formed the core of resource persons for the program towards meeting the strong emphasis on practice rather than theory. In Abuja, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
State legislatures have been challenged to be more conversant with the existing state laws in order to make meaningful inputs in the constitutional amendment process, repeal or enactment of new laws for development of the society. It was during the induction course for the incoming state legislators across the country. National Assembly correspondent Kenneth Nani reports.
Senate Committee on Rules and Business, Senator Enang charged the state legislators to ensure that legislative proceedings are clearly stated in the standing orders of the state assemblies for adequate legislation.
We should not, at the least political crisis in the state or party crisis, serve impeachment notice. We should have stated in the standing orders the procedure for impeachment.
Former Speaker for the House of Representatives Umar Galina Abba and former Chief Justice of the Federation Mohammed Uwais moderated the paper on legislative, executive and judicial relationship in the session chaired by Deputy Speaker Emeka Ihedioha.
Each arm must keep within the limits of its power as enunciated in the Constitution to most effectively promote liberty. The three powers must be separate and acting independently.
Some of the state legislators-elect described the gesture as a right step in the right direction.
It has broadened our knowledge on legislative activities.
Looking at the content, it is very rich, it's very rewarding, and it's very educative.
We are privileged to be here and, learning from the masters.
The program is being organized by the National Institute for Legislative Studies, NILS. In Abuja, Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
A major constitutional crisis may be brewing if the National Assembly goes ahead with a threat to override the president's veto on amending the Constitution. This is in the light of the Supreme Court ruling that all parties stay action on the matter pending the hearing of the Attorney General's suit on the 18th of June. In this special report, Judiciary correspondent Femi Okewo looks at the implications of all positions to the polity.
We'll look at the order and study it, but for now, we're continuing with the passage of the bill. The mood of the National Assembly is to override the president. We need 4/5, and we have the 4/5. So we'll go ahead and override the president.
That position is informed by the belief in the principles of separation of powers. On the 7th of this month, following a suit filed by the Attorney General of the Federation seeking an interpretation on the processes adopted by the National Assembly to amend the Constitution, the Supreme Court gave an order stopping all processes of the amendment until 18th of June, when the case will again resume. That order effectively ended the fourth amendment of the 1999 Constitution because in between that time, the lifespan of the current National Assembly would have ended.
We have toiled on this constitutional amendment for over 2.5, 3 years. So the new government is coming, we have a myriad of problems.
But rule of law advocates say that the issues are far wider than looking at the stage which the process has reached. They say that the process must first be seen to have passed the test laid down by the Constitution.
You don't look at time frame. For me, it is better for all the parties to side with the rule of law because, as lawmakers, a bad precedent will be sent, wrong signal sent, not only to Nigerians, but people outside of Nigeria, that even our own lawmakers believe that they are above the law and the courts.
But in the event that the National Assembly goes ahead to override the president's veto, what are the consequences?
I hope they will not be acting in vain. Because the Supreme Court then will be right at the end of the day, no matter what happens, to say something that was done in defiance of the order of that court will be set aside. And so what have you achieved?
This is yet another test for Nigeria's democracy. While some have argued that the Supreme Court's ruling is an intrusion into the right of the legislature to make laws for Nigeria, others have insisted that this is just another way of the judiciary enforcing its constitutional duties to resolve disputes for all arms of government. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
The arraignment of Sulaiman and Kehinde Sanusi, two brothers of late Chief Razak Sanusi, a multimillionaire Lagos socialite, at the Igboshere Magistrate Court for illegal and unlawful possession of firearms was again stalled following the disclosure by the court clerk that the case file has been taken over by the Chief Judge of Lagos. Tunde Saike reports that the matter could not be heard following this development.
When the matter came up for hearing before Chief Magistrate Adeola Adedayo, the two accused persons were absent and there were no legal representation. A representative from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution told the court that the advice from the Office of the DPP was ready, as the accused persons have a case to answer. But the Chief Magistrate told the lawyer that she cannot receive it as there was no case file to place it. The complainant's lawyer, however, said they are in the dark as to what has become of the case.
On the last day of adjournment, on the 13th day of April 2015, we were in court. The defendant were in court on that day. But unfortunately, there was an error contained in the legal advice rendered by the Office of the DPP. And the magistrate specifically says that the error should be rectified. So that case was adjourned to today. We got to court this morning. We were told by the same court that the case file was no longer with the court. So we were surprised.
So what happened?
So we don't even know.
It seems to me the accused has now turned the petitioner in this matter, in the sense that I want to believe that due to the threat to life of other members of the family by the accused person, whereby he is being charged to court, he has tried to turn the clock of justice backward.
It will be recalled that the two accused brothers, Sulaiman and Kehinde Sanusi, are facing trial over alleged illegal possession of firearm and threatening of the other members of the late Sanusi's family over inheritance. There was no adjournment date fixed for the case. In Lagos, Tunde Saike, NTA News.
And now to our focus, which is prison reform. And one of the major organizations that has been championing this cause is the Prison Rehabilitation Mission International, which for several years have been championing this cause. I have with me in the studio the Director General of the organization, Bishop Kayode Williams. You're welcome to Panorama.
Nice meeting you.
You're welcome, sir. Now, let's look at the Nigerian prisons. How would you describe the state of Nigerian prisons?
Well, as of now, we still want to say it's horrible. There is nothing to write home for now, because facilities to train inmates, the hostels where the inmates have to stay, and so many other facilities are not on ground.
Okay.
So the experience of those that are just coming out is traumatic.
Okay, when you talk about reformation, what exactly are you, championing?
When you talk about reformation, we are talking about a man that has done wrong,
okay, to
be corrected. Get him back, because the purpose of imprisonment is not punitive, it's reformative.
Yeah.
To change, to turn him around,
yeah,
so that he can come back to the society and become productive and pay back.
Right.
So reformation is the bottom line. Okay. If anybody wants a good report from the prison.
Okay. Now, how do we go about these, holistic, reformation and that you people and rehabilitation that you have been championing so far?
Yeah, that is the roadmap for Nigerian prison as of today.
Yeah,
is to approach the issue of reformation, rehabilitation, reintegration, and resettlement in an holistic manner.
Okay.
it will dovetail into one another. The criminal justice, which will involve the judiciary, the police, and the prisons. 3 of them has to work together so that they can have a pure turnaround of the inmates that are in the prison.
Your organization has been involved in these movements for some time now.
Exactly.
For how long?
Over 32 years.
Over 32 years.
Yes.
So what have you been able to achieve in your movements?
Well, we've been to the glory of God, because whatever a man achieves is through the grace of God. We've been able to today to say God is good to our organization. We have people that have been to prison and they are out now as doctors, medical doctors, lawyers, businessmen.
You've been able to integrate them?
Reintegrate them back into the society and reposition them to now face the reality of life. Properly trained, skilled in the art that is genuine and normal.
Do you work
so that they'll be selling high price. You see that there's some first station at night they'll be selling to black market. It's happening in my area, it's really.
This situation has also taken its toll on transport fares and socio-economic activities in several parts of Lagos State.
When you talk about the economy of any country, you don't really talk about the white-collar jobs. You talk about the weather. All the weathers can work now because there is no light.
Or the fact that they've told us in the news that government has paid part of the money to the marketers. I'm still surprised that even since 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, we've still been experiencing this fuel scarcity.
My salary does not increase, but TPA has increased already.
Scarcity started a few weeks ago over the payment of subsidy debts owed major petroleum marketers by the federal government. The olive branch waved by the National Association of Road Transport Owners, NATO, to commence lifting of the product pending when federal government and major marketers agree on the outstanding debts issue, appears not to have resolved the scarcity. This has raised questions about the ability of DPR to check sharp practices in the sales of fuel. Motorists on queues for fuel still want government to take appropriate steps to resolve the outstanding issues and bring respite to Nigerians. In Lagos, Lynn Lenake, NTA News.
And now to sports. Flying Eagles coach Manu Garba to submit FIFA Under-20 World Cup list within 3 days as post-election polo tournament begins in Abuja with 14 teams. Amanzi Marcos reports.
Flying Eagles coach Manu Garba says he has a clear idea of the 21 players who will be taken to the FIFA Under-20 World Cup in New Zealand with just 3 days left to the deadline of submission of final list to FIFA. Genk of Belgium midfielder Wilfred Ndidi is expected to join up with the rest of the squad on Monday, where 3 other Europe-based players, Isaac Success, Kelechi Iheanacho and Moses Simon, are still being awaited. Meanwhile, Croatia's Pekotic Matija has emerged winner of the ITF Pro Cycle Singles held at the tennis court Package B section of the Abuja National Stadium weekend. The left-handed 26-year-old player defeated Eric Quickly of the United States 7-5-6-3 in the second phase of the Abuja Close tournament.
Before I came here, I was pretty close to winning some tournaments, but I never won a tournament, especially one like this one, at least in my professional career. So to win 2 is just, and the doubles yesterday, is just incredible. So I'm very happy.
Kaide Adeni reports that the final match saw both players being cheered by the spectators following their never-die spirit to win the trophy. All is now set for the 6th edition of the Peace and Unity Polo Tournament, which begins in Abuja on Tuesday. Organizers, the Guards Polo Club, say the 5-day event is designed to celebrate the just concluded peaceful elections in the country.
We expect the tournament this year to be very, very competitive, very exciting, and I'm sure whoever comes to watch this tournament will not be disappointed by the quality of play.
Polo teams from different parts of the country will be competing in the 5-day event. With Sports News Update, Amanzi Marcos, NTA News.
And that's our package on Panorama today from Lagos Network Center. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.